All right. So, um, raise your hand if you like the word discipline. And I know it's probably not the favorite word. I actually debated, should I use the word disciplines or should I use the word habits? Because habits is so much catchier. But I think like a habit feels like something that you just like naturally do, where the discipline to me is something that you choose to do. Um, and I think that there's things that we all know we should do, but that doesn't mean that we do them or want to do them. So anyway, I mean, I think, when Lars asked me to speak today and share a little bit about our journey, um, I wanted to share some of these things. And, I do want to just give Lars a shout out because I do remember being in his room and learning, and he was sharing stuff from high performance coaching he'd learned. And Lars always just brings his 100% A game and is always learning himself and working to be able to bring things of value. So we have always appreciated that so much about him. And I think we share a lot of core values, which makes it extra fun to collaborate together. So thank you for inviting me. And a little bit about me. So I've been married 13 years to Kirby, who is my wonderful husband. Random fact, he flew out to the Congo and surprised me and proposed there 14 years ago. So that's how we ended up getting engaged. And now we have four amazing children. And here in these pictures, our oldest just turned 10, which makes us feel really old because all of a sudden you're like, wow, we've been parents 10 years. And no wonder we're not anymore in our 20s or 30s. I actually just turned 41 a few days ago. So I grew up in Mexico and I also lived in the Congo in Africa. And we have a real estate team with about 35 full-time agents and then other support agents and staff. We have a home building company that Kirby runs. We have rental properties. Those are the primary focuses from a business standpoint at this time. And for fun, we love to travel, go on vacations, and go to our lake home, which, if you know about Minnesota, people love cabins on lakes. And we ended up doing our 10-year dream early and bought it during COVID, which we would never go back. It was like the best decision. And we've had so much fun, as well as fun sharing it with people. And I love food and good food. So, anyway, there's a little bit about me. Um, Lars, do people pitch in with questions? Should I leave open for that or just toward the end?
I would say, I mean, definitely sprinkling your question as you guys have them, but I would just go through your stuff. And then I'll pay attention to the questions and then we'll have time afterwards.
Okay, that sounds great. So, well, what are the six things that we'll talk about today? The disciplines that have really transformed my personal life and business. I think it's take care of. There's kind of two categories, which is you as a person. Take care of your physical body, mindset, and soul, and leverage your home to be life giving. And the three that I have been part of my business success, specifically with real estate, is master the sales process, get really good at the phone and loving it, and relationships are the key. So, you guys ready for this? Let's get rolling. So first, take care of your physical body. I think is one of the things. And actually, this morning I was thinking about it, and I'm going to start actually with number two is number one because I think that that's really like where I start or where I would recommend starting as the platform for the rest. It was actually going to put this to you guys in the chat. I wasn't able to participate in the earlier sessions, but hearing you talk about some of you guys, at least from that spiritual side, it's pretty cool. And I think, what I observe it well, and what I know to be true is we are spiritual beings. There's more to us than just our physical body. And when we develop and nurture the deeper side in us, everything in our outlook changes, our priorities and the way that we live. And that's been a huge part for my life. We need an anchor, something that we go to when the going gets tough. Also something that we go to when the going is great, so we don't get proud because pride comes before the fall usually. And so that's really been a huge thing for me. I think that if most of us look around, we've heard at some point, and some of you guys might even know people, right, who've had huge levels of success and yet end up committing suicide, right? I think there was a big realtor in California not that long ago, very successful. And so really, I think what it comes down to is financial success and success in life. It does not have that true lasting meaning. All of us look for meaning. And so that's really huge. that I would encourage each of you to find a deeper sense of purpose. So for me, that is what anchors me consistently, and I go back to, and that's what this framework by which I live my life. And it's huge for me. And there's a lot of resources out there that are not necessarily Christian that can help you. Like I've learned a lot from Tony Robbins and several of his events that have really helped me process and put through the time of defining who I am. And that's one of the points I really want to talk about today is the more clear you are on who you are as a person and where you're going, then what you're doing is going to align and you're going to have that integrity with yourself about all the other disciplines that we're going to talk about today. Just a little plug in. Date with Destiny for me was my favorite event of his, and we're kind of junkies who went to all of them. But one of the things you get to do there is write out your destiny board, and there's a couple things in there. One, you're writing like, hey, the mission of my life is X. I know Lars is huge on that. He had us work on stuff like that when we've gone to his events. And one of the things that I appreciated a lot is he had you work through your toward values and your away from values, meaning because we're not even aware of the thing that we live by sometimes value wise, right? Like, so for example, one of the ones that I learned of was everything's going to go badly. And so even for example, this week, some things happened and I caught myself realizing, wow, I'm responding like everything's going to be going badly instead of looking at it from the values that I want to have that are true of who I am. And so being able to acknowledge that has helped me completely transform the way that I approach things versus just that instinctive gut reaction that we have from our childhood based on whatever experiences we had. So anyway, the more you can figure out who you are, and put the time towards that and do it regularly. So every year I spend some time by myself, which doesn't happen easily when you're a parent, and I'm sure you all know. And I spend some time really thinking and praying through, hey, what is my focus going to be this year based on my circumstances or the opportunities we want to grow or my family's needs or my team's needs or my own needs. And then I put the energies towards that. And I usually try to go with no more than 4 to 6 areas that I'm focusing on developing. I usually try to have at least 1 or 2 that are personal, 1 or 2 that are business related that I'm still like really focusing on as things. Really encourage you to read books or listen as realtors and as busy people. If you work out or you're driving, listening to books, Audible is my best friend. But it is a game changer for growing and changing the way that you're approaching life, and I actually switch it up a lot. I read like a personal book, not novels or anything, although fun things I'm trying to bring it into my life from a reading standpoint. And I have over the last year little, but I usually say, okay, what is something that's going to develop me as a person? And then I switch it off. And the next time I'm reading, typically something that's going to develop me from a business standpoint or as a leader. Previously, I had a lot to do with sales skills and things like that. And I still sometimes sprinkle sales stuff and how can I develop in my coaching of my team and think bigger. And then always, I would highly, highly encourage you to find a mentor, find counselors. If you know you got issues, just go get help. And it's so awesome. It's so awesome in your marriage and whatever category it is, because that will catapult you to the next levels in every way. So that's my encouragement. I'm going to go back to number 1. So with that as the framework, right? Like who I want to be, who you want to be, and having that clarity. When you've got the clarity, it's true to you. You can't make it up, right? Now, in my opinion, if you really spend the time doing it and identify who you really are, and are comfortable with that and decisions you're choosing to make from there, then some of these other decisions you make, these other disciplines will be far easier to follow through on. So I think taking care of our physical body is huge. There's a quote that my dad told me of once that I will never forget, but he said, there's this guy that just worked and was amazing and did a lot of amazing things in his life. And I can't remember what his name is, but the point is he never rested and ended up dying in his 30s. And one of his dying quotes was, man, God gave me one horse to run with and I beat the horse to death. So we don't want to do that with our body. We've got one body, one life. We want to take good care of it because when we do that, we're able to make such a more powerful impact for the rest of our lives, right? And we want those lives to belong in a way that are meaningful to ourselves, our family, and to others. So I think exercising is huge. And one of the things that I really recommend is be realistic. I see a lot of people that are like, oh, I never work out. Okay, now my goal is I'm going to work out 7 days a week for now or every single day. And it's just like, that's not going to happen. It's not sustainable for most people. Some people do it, I realize, but it's very few people that do that. So it's far better to make a commitment that's far smaller once a week. Once you hit once a week for several months, go to twice a week or whatever, but like don't make the jump so big. So I have for years and years and years, I just do 3 times a week. I do 30 minutes. But I just wrote 15 if that's something that helps you to kind of conceptualize if it's small enough to do it consistently. But it is a game changer. When I have hard days, even when I was pregnant, all 4 pregnancies, or when I'm tired or sick, like I do everything I can to stay consistent. Um, and you're going to have a little zays there, right? If you get really sick or something, but generally try to stay consistent. And the energy level that it causes in you, start your day, you go strong, and your whole life long term is going to go better. I think we stop building true muscle after the 40s, I think it is. And so you want to build as much and maintain as much as you can, and not let it dwindle down. So keep it easy. I think that one of the things for me that you'll see kind of this as a pattern in a lot of the disciplines that I talk about, I try to make everything literally as easy as possible so that I actually can follow through on it, because it requires very little thinking on my part once I've done the initial decision making about what I want to do. So there was periods in my life where I did a lot of running and biking. Then I did T25, 25-minute hardcore workouts. After I had kids, if you know anything about that, it's pretty rough on a woman's body. So I got into a workout program called Every Mother, which was really very transformational and helpful. And I highly encourage it for any woman who's had children. And now my husband and I do the mirror. So like literally a physical mirror that has a workout program, live coaching on it, live classes, and thousands of workout classes of every type, from yoga and dance to strength building and kickboxing and all of that. But we actually work out together now, which has made it really fun and challenges both of us to do harder workouts than we would typically on our own. But what I really like about it when I think about easy again is we don't drive anywhere. I don't have to get in my cold car in the middle of winter in Minnesota. I'm not losing, 15 minutes driving here and back and forth to the gym. I'm not stuck talking to people when I don't have time. And when you have kids, that's a real issue, that morning time. And evening, very, very, very difficult to ever actually work out. So we get up, the kids don't bother us. They know what we're doing. We get our workout in and out, done 30 minutes. So again, easy. Totally recommend it. So, and really, the more you do whatever you decide with your physical body, and we could go into talking about eating healthy and all that, and I'm not going to go into that today. For me, this is one of the biggest things, is just do it consistently, start small, stay consistent, and then you can build from there. But I don't feel a need to work out 5 or 7 times a week. I mean, sometimes I am doing activities 5 or 7 times a week, going for a walk or things like that. But my commitment of exercise is 3 mornings a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just doesn't change. Just like I'm spending time personally journaling and reading my Bible, spending time with God every Tuesday, Thursday, and then on the weekends. So just very, very simple and structured first thing in the morning. So I'm going to go then to number 3 of the personal ones. So leverage your home to be life-giving. I think that's huge. When we're entrepreneurs and we're hustling and we're working hard, and when you work in real estate, which doesn't end, it's not 9 to 5, right? It's start to finish. And we all know we've had those calls at 10 or 11 p.m. get that deal done or save it from dying. We need our home environment to be as supportive and life-giving as possible, because the worst thing that can happen is you have all these responsibilities, you come home, you can raise your hand, right? If you've experienced this, and then you're like, oh my gosh, the bathrooms haven't been cleaned, or oh my goodness, I have no idea what we're going to eat, and I'm starving, and now I'm hungry, and I got to open the fridge and come up with something. And all those decisions and that pressure we feel, they weigh it down. And it really, if we start feeling that guilt or that pulling us back, it doesn't allow us to live in our best space for our home life as well as for our business, right? And for our clients and all that. So some of the ways that I've found that really the disciplines that help us is we prioritize our marriage since before we had kids. Just made the commitments on literally Thursday nights since the day we got married to even now. That's when we've got our date night. And, our newborns joined us for about the first month and a half or so or whatever. But once it started getting, whatever, stay with the babysitter with the rest. So, and that's great, because having that dedicated time away It's not the exhausted 9 p.m. time after you've gotten the kids to bed, and or whatever. I mean, it's just huge. So it's fun. I think being able to do that is very important. And then we've also invested in times of growth. So sometimes it's been participating in certain coaching programs together. Sometimes it's been, hey, let's go to counseling and grow in this area, individually and in our marriage, and whatever it is. And sometimes it's just like, hey, let's have a little more fun in this particular area. And so that's been really great for us. As two strong personalities and with a lot going on, that's extremely helpful. Again, going to the easy thing, delegate or find easy systems that make the weight of the whole life easier, right? So cleaning, just get a cleaner. I mean, I think Lars might have been one of the first people that really was like, dude, you got to get cleaners. But it's a game changer. And we've been doing that for several years. And it's not that we're not physically able to clean. We clean all the time, like the maintenance cleaning, but the deep cleaning, awesome. Not having to worry about that at all. It's huge. So groceries and menu planning, that was like our witching hour when we come home from work. Anybody else experience that? Or otherwise you're eating out too much and that's not great for you either, or your budget sometimes. So we did a lot of research and found an app called Paprika, okay, which I highly, highly recommend. You menu plan, you add all the recipes super easily from the internet or manually, add it to the weekly menu, and then you add all your groceries from there, compile them, different you get sharing accounts or Kiki shop. Well, now we're nanny shop, so we order online most of the time. So that ordering online makes groceries easy. So when you don't have to think about it, and then you end up with your go-to recipes, the ones that work, and you have enough variety. Again, less decision making makes it so much better. And then for us, we ended up going to getting a nanny by the time we had a third kid. So and that also we made cooking dinners part of her job description. So the day that she works for us, that's what she does, and it makes a total game changer. We come home, it's already hard enough to detach from work, but at least now we don't have to like work cooking, and we can show up and eat dinner as a family, and that's been so wonderful for us. As a parent, one of the leverage things I would encourage is spend one-on-one time with each kid as often, even every day, at least 5 to 10, 15 minutes of like attention on them. It makes a huge difference. So Herbie's been really good about doing like daddy-daughter or daddy-son dates. They love that. I do my times with them differently. But I think investing in that is huge. And again, speaking to moms mostly, but like the mom guilt thing is a real thing when you work. And so being able to do that and make sure your kids feel loved, it gives you so much more peace. Like, it's okay. They're loved the nanny, they're loved at school, whatever. I'm still showing up for them when I'm showing up. So being intentional and not accidental really helps a lot to make sure that you're living according to the values you want here. And then for us personally, I don't want to be all work and no play. We love vacations, building memories, and fun experiences. And personally, giving to charity is a huge part of our lives. And so we plan for that. Like, hey, how much do we want to give? Hey, what vacations do we want to go on? Like, what? Oh, okay. All right. So now I'm going to transition to the business side of things. Okay. So the fourth discipline that has really, I guess, transformed our success is mastering the sales process. Now, I'm imagining most of you, or if not all of you, have at least personally been selling homes for whatever period, and you're probably still selling homes or now starting to manage or managing your team selling homes. And again, going to the easy part, right? Like creating systems around everything that you can possibly control that is repetitive or repetitive enough is a complete game changer. You've done it, we created a lot of our systems around what are the things that wake us up at night? Did the buyer send the earnest money, right? Well, let's just create a system around all those things, take the thinking out of it, because taking the thinking out of it reduces the stress. And then we just follow the process, and people are always like, wow, how do you remember everything? Well, I don't. My sister reminds me for it. I just follow it. And so anything that causes you stress that can be proactively managed, I would always encourage you to create a system around it. Now, I'm sure, there's a talk about getting an assistant or showing agents. That would be a whole part of the systems. that I could go into as well. But that's what I would really encourage. Everything that can elevate you to being your highest and best and the leader you want to become for whatever kind of business you want to be building is huge. And then here's another one. Now, I'm imagining most of you, because you're here with coaching, you are doing this. But if you're leading a team as well, and this is one of the things I really coach my agents. But real estate agents love to think they work and they don't always work, right? So like, if you treat your job like a full-time real job, you will always make a lot of money, right? Like, how many people in the world make like 100K, six figures, when they're not working at least around 40 hours a week? I mean, maybe once you have your successful business, right? Or millionaires don't count, but like normal people, nobody gets paid that to just show up 15 hours a week. And then we have agents that sit there wondering why they make the salary 15 hours a week, right? So I just think, like, show up, get up every single day, treat it like a real job, right? Who's read the book Eat That Frog? Anybody? Right? So do the hardest, most important work every day. Who knows what the hardest, most important work in real estate is? Right? Make those calls. We'll talk about that in the next discipline. Uh, and I believe that if you treat everything that you do in real estate and in your work kind of like ping pong, then you're going to do really well. So the ball should never be in your court. Just pass it back, pass it back. If you read an email, touch it once, respond, file it, delete it. People always ask me now, wow, where do you start getting successful? And we're like, oh, we just answer the phone. We call everybody back every time. And it is a game changer. So just the less the ball's in your court, the more things move forward. And you also train yourself to have higher capacity that way. So the touch it once concept is huge with just about every task you can do. Again, it makes it easier. You're going to have some emails, some tasks that are going to require more time than that, but they should be minimal in the majority of your activities that bond people down, like email or text. Just touch it once and take care of it. So that's a huge one. So number 5, get really good at the phone. Raise your hand if you like calling people and being on the phone. I have some people shaking their heads and a couple of people raising their hands. Thanks for the honesty, everybody. Well, I'm one of those weird people that became a lover of the phone. But I remember the absolute terror the first time we got a pay-per-click read on our new home search website. And I looked at Kirby and I was like, what do I do? So we'll call it. I don't know what to say, but I just started doing it, right? And then we eventually got coaches and people that help us be better at it. But what I've gotten from it, right, is that the only way to grow to love it and get better is just by doing it. And the more you do it, the better you are in it. And I think that's really what happened with me. I single-handedly was the one that managed all of our home search website leads for a couple of years. I set all of the appointments, worked all the leads, sold about 60 homes by the next year out of that website. So I learned a lot, and you have to talk to a lot of people to do that. This was like a Tiger League, which became commissions. They never got bought out by them. So just the testimony there that it can work for everybody, for you, for your agents, just doing it and learning. One of here's a strategy that helped me to get really good on the phone. Okay. There's a book called Go for No. The premise of the book is exactly the title, but it really makes a difference, because if you want to be liked, sell ice cream, right? That's just, we're not going to be liked by everybody when we're calling people about real estate. So most people get discouraged calling people on the phone because they're wanting a yes. We all want a yes. And when you instead are realistic and say, hey, I'm going to get rejected, and you almost make it like a game, it completely changes your game, right? So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go for setting 5 appointments today, I would go, I'm going to see if I can just get 10 people to say F you by the end of the day, not intentionally, right? But we're going to do it. We've all gotten hung up on. And I'm just going to see how many friends I can make along the way. And instead of feeling bad about all the hang-ups and, nice things people sometimes say when they do that, you start checking it off like in your brain. It's like, cha-ching, I achieved another goal. And in the process of that, it's actually very rare you're going to hit 10 of those in a day. If you're learning and getting better at scripted conversations, right? And by the end of it, you're probably going to have your goals of what you want to set and achieved. But the mindset of it is different in that you're very realistic with that. So understanding the math with numbers, with phone call, to me has always helped me. Again, I keep going back to, I like it easy. I like to know where I'm going because then I can function within that. So you buy 100 leads online, likely is 30% of them are going to be bad numbers. The others, some people might have realtors, whatever. If you make 100 calls, you're probably, I bet, going to get 10 live conversations. Of those, if you're good, at the end of the day, you're going to set about one. So there's a math. And you're basically going for 99 not set appointments out of 100 calls, but you should end up with one by the end of the day. So that helps me. And if you can understand your math or start to track it, it really helps you to be able to approach it with that kind of eyes wide open thing and train your team with that as well. So I'd encourage you to learn scripts, get good coaching with that. There's a lot online, but getting an actual coach. We're doing real role playing. A lot of teams, in a lot of groups will do role playing, and that is huge. We do that every week on our team and give feedback and get the feedback. One of the first script coaches I had, he was really direct and would make me cry. However, he did make me cry. However, what I will say is that he really taught me, like, if I hadn't gotten that coaching, I wouldn't have gotten better. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I think that has enabled me to be a better coach with my agents now with more sensitivity possibly, but you need to get and give real feedback to get better. And in regards to being able to get good at the phone, listen, if you ask really good questions, you're going to get really good answers. And if you ask kind of lousy questions, like yes or no questions, most of the time, especially at the onset of a conversation, aren't good, right? So you're going to get yes or no answers. That doesn't give the conversation going very far. So as I've trained my team, and the best people on my team are very good listeners and very good question askers. Because the more you get them talking, right? What's everybody's favorite topic, right? They always say people's favorite word is their name and people's favorite topic is themselves. So if we can get them to talk about themselves, they automatically like you more. And so then the more they trust you, the more they share with you, the more, if you ask quality questions, you understand the problems. And really what we're doing in real estate is solving people's problems. So if they don't have a problem, we can't help them anyway, right? Like problems to maybe buy or sell or what the challenges. So anyway, that's what's gotten me to love it. And for me, it's just an opportunity to be able to build another relationship and to see, hey, can I add value to this person's life at this particular time frame? No joke. I was doing a live session training my team a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not even joking. Literally, there was someone with goats in the background that answered the phone. So I was the first. You always get a first on everything. It was pretty great trying to have that conversation. So anyway, that's that. And then the last point, number 6 is relationships are the key. And so that I think there's so many levels on that. But what I do want to be clear is you have to stay personal in your business. And everything can't just be about the numbers. Everything can't just be about the money, even though obviously we need numbers and we need money to make a business work. Those are very real and very important things. It's about the people. There's really like 2 categories of people. And so one of them is your team. If you develop and have a team, we have to see them. We have to love on them. We have to take care of them. Especially, I'm sure a lot of us have experienced with the low levels of unemployment. It's not easy to keep and retain good talent. And it's not just about good talent, but it's about right fit in your culture. And with you, can they roll the way that you roll? And you want to keep those people. And they will stay if they feel invested in, seen, loved, and encouraged. And they likely won't otherwise. So, and then obviously for any business, you need clients. So that's really a huge one. Um, especially as you grow, like, right, like, so most of you probably sort of like Kirby and I, you're the main person selling, you know everybody by name, and to be able to grow and scale that and transition it to be agents, it takes development there, to be able to retain the trust and retain that business over the course of years. So, Keller Williams, right, Gary Keller, he wrote a book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but he talks there about developing your 33 touch. Essentially, you have to touch or be in contact with your database 33 times a year for them to remember that you exist, in the sense of like, you're the first person they're going to think of calling, right? And so that's very important. So we developed an e-newsletter, a printed newsletter. We have 4 to 6 events every year that are client appreciation events. And we do market updates and CMAs. We have a whole bot. So we do all sorts of things. We actually touch them far more than 33 times a year now. But a lot of events and stuff. And of course they love it, because it's like a party every time and free things every time. So that is really one of our favorite things. And it keeps us with some moments of face to face with all the clients. So, and this is another one as part of our 33 touch, but I probably would lose a couple of these before I would ever lose this one, which is we call people on their birthday and their house anniversaries every year. And we've done that basically since Kirby and I started, but it is probably 100 times X your return, because very few people do that. Actually, like physically call anyone for their birthday. Calling people for their house anniversary, they always feel really special. And it just is, again, a reminder for them that you are their agent. And we've created systems, of course, to make it easy for all of us and our agents, because now they're the ones that are handling all our sales. And they're the ones that are handling our clients. They're the ones that are working with our sphere now and our past clients. And so they get the reminders, they call. I still call my friends, some of my past clients, because I like to. Like, I honestly make so much money off of it, because I regularly set appointments off of it, whether from them or referrals, just because I stay in touch all the time. So as we've grown and scaled, even with 700 some homes a year, still about 50% of our business continues to be repeat and referral business, which, I mean, when you look at scaling, it's not easy to continue to scale that portion of it unless you're developing raving fans, which is what we're really about. We want to make sure that we're indoctrinate this in our agents, we track it, we celebrate it, right? Like, we read out loud the 5-star lowest reviews that we get every single week in Zillow. And that, by the way, is great for your Google presence and Zillow presence. And the agents love it. And it helps us really know who's succeeding very well. So, and yeah, so loving your team, loving your clients, keeping it personal enough and seeing them and celebrating them. It's always going to pay off and allow you to scale more. So that's what I got. Any questions?
Yes, we're going to take every bit of the next 23 minutes to get everything we can out of you. Can you tell us, you presented, and I forget where you told us this, but it was a strategy that you used when it was just you and Kirby and like one licensed assistant, but you would go into Kirby's and your Facebook account on like, how did you build the birthday system? Because you still call people on their birthday, right?
Yeah, we do. Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it was, for a whole year, I went every day, and in your Facebook reminders, it shows you who's got birthdays. So for a whole year, I would go in and I would message each person that we knew. Sometimes you have people that you literally like don't know or aren't in the country. So then I would skip those, but pretty much everybody else. And I would just say, hey, it's our goal this year to send everybody that we know a happy anniversary or a happy birthday card. And just what's your address? And while I'm at it, what's your number and email so we can stay in touch? And most people would respond and give it to us. And that's part of how we built our database, with actual real valid contacts, right? Because, I'll see like agents will join us. They'll give us their SOI list, and it's like a random exported list of our old coworkers, half of whom don't work there anymore. right? Well, that's not a very quality database of people. We're not actually going to, you don't have good contact. So I did that for the first year and then just got attracted after that. But it was a very big game changer because some of those people that like were acquaintances, they started feeling like friends. They started feeling like we were their friends because who else calls them and sends them happy birthday cards. And, even one of them ended up using us a few times, but her husband had been talking to someone on Zillow and she goes, "What are you doing? We're going to use Kurt and Christina. They're the ones that send us cards for their birthdays." And we weren't even really friends at the time, we're just acquaintances. So,
Yeah. And then another thing, and maybe you can talk to this a little bit. The consistency that you guys have employed just in your touch program. You guys have been doing that newsletter. Haven't changed the look and feel of it. Like it
or
works. All the emotional stuff is built in. Um, talk about the consistency of it, because I have fallen prey to this, where we've been doing it for a year, let's change it up, but you guys have been doing the same thing year in, year out for the most part. It's not to say that you don't improve it, but talk about the consistency that you employ in your business.
uh, yeah, I mean, we will do brand like refreshes and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, our printed newsletter, um, it's just always been, like a double-sided 4-pager or whatever you can say. Um, and generally the template's been fairly similar. And yeah, we usually try to focus on having something that's more personal with them. So like either the client appreciation events or we'll have like market update stuff. We really try to avoid having completely like generic articles, we really try to avoid that. So we try to make it much more like personal, interesting, engaging. We're featuring testimonials or client success experiences. Our e-newsletter, that one we actually revamped our format last year. So I'll give you guys to this as a freebie, but our deliverability was okay. We were looking really to improve it. And so we did a lot of research and ended up finding out that the less links you have, your deliverability is much higher. The more links you have, you appear more spammy and certain words like that. So now we run every single new e-newsletter. We run the title through a spam filter check, which most CRMs have something like that. And then we'll tweak it. Because we didn't even know that some of the words we were using kind of like gave off the feeling of being spammy. For example, like if you try to do something like, "Oh, we sold our client's home for $40,000 more." If you use it in the title, that's going to show up as spam because 40,000, is or money is usually used as like a spam context, right? So being able to run that through that, and then we used to put like a link on the video or the picture, plus click here link, like don't want anyone to miss clicking. And that adds up to a lot of links and we had it too long. So now we actually have it down to about 3 sections for the most part. We're only 1 link per thing. And most of our e-newsletters now, we have about a 25 to 30% open rate, which is huge. That's like massive for email. I mean, when you're emailing thousands of people, that's really good open rate.
Awesome. Tell us about the team structure. So Amanda asked a question about the team structure on the admin side and the agent side.
Do you guys want me to speak about it as today? Like what we're
Actually, no, since we have time, talk about the evolution of it. So talk about, I think you and Kirby and one licensed administrator did like 192 transactions. Do I
So we
remember
have a
that?
non-licensed assistant who ended up managing a lot of our marketing and was our listing coordinator. And then, so we hired her, and then about 6 months later, hired our first showing agent, which our showing agents, we've always only ever had hourly, like whatever you work, we pay you. We've never paid like consistent salaries or anything like that. Um, but yeah, so by the time we hired them, that year we sold 120 homes, and then it was under 92 and grew from there. We ended up hiring our first buyer agent about a year or so afterwards. Actually, he overheard our interview for our first showing agent at Terrible Copy because we didn't have an office or anything. And he's like, I've been thinking about getting into real estate. I'm like, well, get your license and join us. It was a really great for our hiring process. But he turned out to be great. And he's actually a very successful agent in California now. So we're still in touch with him. He's great. So um, then, yeah, from there, we started hiring a couple more agents, ended up hiring our first marketing coordinator because with selling bulbs, it was just like too much trying to do that. Um, and grew from there. So, we've kind of gone through different iterations, but for the most part, having, an operations, HR type of person, a marketing person, and then a sales department is primarily where we've been. Now, we have, it's a fairly big organization now, but we have key leaders, and that's really what we've been going for. 2 years ago, we said, okay, our goal is to develop true leaders in this organization that are going to take over pretty much all of it. I'm the integrator. Kirby's the visionary. I'm the integrator, but I put pretty much almost all of my time into my leaders and in decision making now. And I just do occasional coaching with the agents on things that they feel like they need me in, like they like me for scripts and role playing sometimes, because I'm a nerd and I love it. So, but yeah, so then we have our sales director, and she oversees our sales managers and all of our sales agents. And then we've got our growth and development director, who basically is the one who oversees recruiting and our training department for new agents. One of the things we found is putting our best sales people or sales managers overseeing brand new agents. They hated it with a passion. Like, no high producer wants to show someone how to click the CRM again or how to write their first offer. Not that they don't want to be nice, but it's like, seriously. So now we have a training department, which completely helps insulate the rest of the productive team. Because as we all know, only about 25% of hires end up being good, right? Agent hires, I don't know. That's just a statistic I hear nationally over and over again. You hire 10, you're going to keep about 2.5 good ones. Because, not everybody's going to do the job if you want producers or people that are going to do a good job. So our training department takes them, onboards them, does all of the initial training, and basically works with them through the first 5 sales. And then they graduate, right, into one of the other groups, because by then they know enough what they're doing. And we make even experienced people go through this process because they still have questions on how we do things. We have right, I keep talking about processes and systems, but that's what makes it easy, but people have to learn it. So we have that all along the way with them. And then once they graduate, they go to the sales division, basically, and are officially graduated. And then our marketing department, we just have an amazing marketing director, and she's got a coordinator under her and 2 designers that are overseas. And then we outsource different portions of marketing sometimes because you're not going to figure every part out yourself and everything. But for the most part, that's what we've got. And then, yep, it's kind of how we have our team structured.
Just a practical tech question. When you guys send out the newsletter, what program are you using?
We have Infusionsoft. So Infusionsoft is a pretty robust program that I only recommend if you're going to really build it out and invest in building it. If you do that, it is a game changer because it's like your massive assistant. We have all the different campaigns that run that help us not forget anything, and everybody follows a process from lead to sold, and then all the sold follow up, right? Like anniversaries and things like that. But that's what we use for our newsletter. You can build it out in there and send it out directly through there.
I've had Kirby tell us before, do not do Infusionsoft. So that was not for you to write down like, I'm going to check out. I promise you, it is a beast. It can run like your business and 7 other businesses all at the same time, all tripwired, but you will lose your mind unless your mind is wired that way.
Kirby's mind is wired that way, and one of our virtual assistants and our previous operations person. So, everything, but it takes a lot of investment into building it out. So I agree. That's why I said, don't do it unless that's truly like you're going to scale it. So
Yeah.
I think a MailChimp or Chamber, there's a lot of different programs people use that.
Yeah. MailChimp is super easy to use. Take us through the touch program again. So you guys are doing physical monthly newsletter, e-newsletter. So that's 24 touches. What else are you doing?
So we have 4 to 6 events per year. I mean, obviously with COVID and stuff, things change. But
Each event has a direct mail, a phone call, an email.
well, not a phone call, but we're looking at hiring a part-time client coordinator that we want as part of that like different than an IC. Like she would be like our chief love officer, if you want to call it that. So they get the printed newsletter and an e-newsletter and then an actual postcard invitation. So kind of all 3 of those, and then a text message invite as well.
So with four events, there's another 12. Wait,
12
4 events.
touches, yes.
Yeah, another 12 touches essentially. So you're at 36 between a newsletter, e-newsletter, 4 events with the touches.
Yeah. And then
And
there's the anniversary, the birthday
Yep.
girl. And then, yeah, sometimes we'll do the CMAs, just give people updates. We also, as part of our campaign and following up after the first anniversary, we also send them an invitation to Home. I think it is HomeBot, right? The one that sends the monthly market updates on your behalf. So that's kind of a nice way because on the back end, they can update their mortgage balance or what you think their home is worth. So you can kind of track when they're paying more attention to that. And the system alerts us, hey, they updated their mortgage amount or something. So
I don't know if you told me this or Kirby did, but you guys did 777 homes last year for 7.7 million. We all agreed that you guys should just, 7 is the number of completion in the Bible. So you guys didn't take the advice and just shut it down. But 50% of the 7.7 million, I think the reason people don't focus on their database is that they don't think it could be a multi-million-dollar income flow for them. So was that just something you realized over time, or you were so committed to because most people scale, but they don't scale with the core of their business being their database, which you guys have done. So you guys did 3.85 million last year of GCI with both of you out of production from your database, not your agent's database, but from your core database. So talk about that a little bit. What's the mindset around the database in your company?
that's a very good question. I think I talked earlier about and that kind of the mindset stuff about growing and learning and always learning from other people. I think it's rare you're ever going to have someone talk and not mention that the database matters. And so I think we don't have a need to reinvent the wheel. If we're like, if it works, I'm going to copypreneur it. I'm just going to make it mine and make it true to me. But I don't know. It just made sense to my brain. Like, why wouldn't you want to forever retain the people that have already worked with you? So, I think it was a commitment from the beginning, but also because we kept hearing it over and over again. And I kind of looked at it as like, well, if somebody called and invited me to things, I would really like them more. And if they took care of my needs after I bought a house and didn't disappear on me, I would like them more. I refer to them. I mean, it just made sense, right? And I mean, gosh, over the years, we've chased so many squirrels when it comes to buying leads. Because just like every speaker can also tell you about buy leads from here, buy leads from there, I don't know, right? And you can waste so much money that way. So one of the short answers to your question, Lars, would be we track. And so we track our ROI on everything that we spend with marketing. And it's without a shadow, not even close of a doubt. The very highest ROI is always our database. Always, 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 always. It's so just like not undebatable. So it's a no-brainer in that sense. Plus the conversion is like, I mean, the appointments that I set from that for our agents, it's about a 90% conversion rate. And right, when you're buying leads, I mean, I think Zillow from lead to sold considers 7.5% to be outstanding. That's Zillow, right? Like supposed to be the bottom of the funnel, better leads. So I guess to me, that's a no-brainer as well. Why wouldn't I want to do easier work that produces better? Because it really is. It's like that funnel, like the top of the funnel, those new leads we buy, you have to make a friend out of nothing. I talked about loving the phone, but that's not easy. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of time, a lot of discipline, and a lot of people to not waste all those leads if you need to stay in touch with them enough to get them down the funnel. But now, you guys, like, one of my agents just sold a house this week. She was a lead from 2012 that I converted, helped her buy her first house. About 3 years ago, she contacted us again. An agent on our team helped her sell and buy a bigger house with her new husband. Her daughter, she referred to us because she got married or whatever it was. So then they bought with us. And then now she and her husband want to sell and travel the world. And she wanted a cash offer. And I asked her questions and I was like, dude, if you're going to sell it for that price, I'll buy it myself. I think you should use my agent first. And we sold it for $80,000 more than what she was willing to take from a cash offer perspective. That's, well, from one lead, but that takes a lot of work over the years, right? So anyway, I could probably talk about this forever, but that is a huge thing of like your effort is so much easier with people that already know, like, and trust you. So if you do a good job, your agents do a good job with every lead, every closing, and you're getting 5-star reviews on Google or Zillow, and you're staying in touch with them, there's no reason they should ever work with anyone else but you.
Is there a practical discipline that you can give us around, like you had a time block in your calendar outside of that Facebook, taking them from online to offline? Do you make your agents time block, for database management, or what's like a practical thing we can all do to turn it into a 7-figure pillar?
Um, so we train all of our agents, and I didn't talk about this when I talked about this team structure, but every agent is in a small group under sales manager. So every single week they make weekly commitments, their to-dos, and every week they have to report back on whether they did them. And the expectation is you're gonna complete at least 90% of them. So in those, most of the time, unless they're crushing their sales and their conversion meets the minimum metrics, their to-dos are always going to have to do with following up with the leads to set appointments or following up with their Met people to sell homes. And so we train them on everything from that and what we call pushing listings. But their expectation is every week they're going to be pushing listings to their buyers, like actually handpicking property that they say, hey, want to go look at these? Because we know that the auto emails are only going to get me so many passive emails back that say, can you show me this house at 4? But if I suggest 3 properties, my chances of showings are vastly higher every single week. When we train them that if they're smart, if they do it on a Monday or a Tuesday, their whole week is more lined up, or they can use the showing agents versus Friday, people are like, oh, I want to see houses this weekend. And all of a sudden, you're out of dinner with your family and 6 people want to see houses and you don't have any showing agents and you're stressed out and now you can't go to your kid's soccer game or whatever it is. So we do try that to be as proactive as possible. And the ones that listen and follow that always do really well and consistently sell homes with less stress. So that's how we help them stay in touch. And then something we also do, so that's kind of from like a weekly cadence. And then we'll also do just different call challenges or CMA challenges or push listing challenges or things like that too. So that it's kind of more fun. And then I'll end up with a happy hour or whatever.
Awesome. We'll do 2 more questions and we'll let you run. So are you doing the same events every year or do you switch it up?
For the most part, the same events. So we did do a couple different ones or we had to switch things around just due to COVID. But I'll tell you what our consistent ones are. So our next one coming up is our Thanksgiving pie giveaway. That was our first one ever. I think the first time we ever did it, we had like 20 people come. And we should have at least 700 people come. They pick up a big pie from Costco, apple or pumpkin, which they just raised at $2 pie. So get yourself some sponsors because it gets really expensive. But it's, again, the best ROI anyway. And then we keep them a pound of coffee from Terrible Coffee, which is like Starbucks here. I don't know if you guys have that there, but that's kind of the Minnesota-based one originally. And so they come by. Now we do that one drive-through style. We used to have it in the office and people would come in. Highly recommend that if your database is manageable like that, because it was the best time. People love to come. We would have hot chocolate, coffee, cookies, and activities for the kids, like a thankfulness wall. People would write. It was really, really fun. But now, our office can't have that many people park and come and show up and do that. We do a drive-through style now since COVID, but it's far easier. But even then, 700 people picking up pies even if it's a whole day, that's like a constant flow of people. So then we usually do pictures with Santa for kids on a Saturday morning. The pie giveaway is always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving because that way it's still fresh and people can be the ones to bring dessert for Thanksgiving, but not too close where everybody's already gone. And we have so many people on our database now where they literally plan on that and they sign up for their family gathering to bring dessert because they know that we're going to provide it with them. So that we did the pictures with Santa. We this one goes on and off sometimes, but state of the market address, which we used to do in our farm area. We have a newspaper in our the city that we are in that is one of the better price points too. We have done a fun run. That one's not anymore. We did it a couple of years, but it's just logistically fairly complicated. Again, because some things are easier when you have 100 to 200 people, but once you get 500 or more showing up to the events, the logistics and expenses get complicated. So you just have to be more creative. We did last year, we did a fall like family pictures event with bouncy houses. And while that was fun, it was pretty much a logistical nightmare. So we are not doing that one again, but it was really fun. If it was much smaller, I would for sure do it again because people love it. The one we also do every single year is the minor league baseball here is called Saints. The Saints team is super fun. Like the field is amazing. They make the environment super fun. And it's obviously far smaller than the Twins, bigger stadium. So we host tickets and a barbecue on what they have called the Green Lawn. And then I forgot to mention this, every event we tie in charity. So based on how many people come, it's an incentive for them to come too, but we make donations on their behalf towards Feed by Starving Children or a local organization here or one in the condo where I used to work. So, but the Saints Game Barbecue is the only one where we actually give cash prizes to our clients as a thank you. So ever since we were really little and had like 50 people show up to our first one at our local park, where we literally grilled for them in our first barbecue, we've always added a 0 to the number of sales we've done. And that's how much money we give away in cash prizes to winners. So last year, this last summer, we gave away $7,770 in cash prizes. So a bunch of $500 ones and like a $1,770 one, big prize winner. And so anyway, that's super fun. And that one, we had about 900 people. That was crazy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.